Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant.
Everywhere you look today, it's all about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant wants to be traded. Kevin Durant is tired of the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant this, Kevin Durant that. Is Kevin Durant really creating a scene in Brooklyn and causing the organization to become dysfunctional? Or is the two-time Finals MVP just fooling everyone? First off, to understand why Kevin Durant is probably not serious about these trade requests, let's take a look at the Brooklyn Nets personnel for 2023. As of today, honestly, the roster looks like a complete powerhouse of a team. I mean, for the starting five, you got Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, and Patty Mills. Then, coming off the bench, you got Seth Curry, TJ Warren, Nick Claxton, Royce O'Neal, and Cam Thomas. Sheesh, guys. That's one heck of a starting five, which is then backed up by a deep bench who all could be starters if they were on another team. In terms of talent, that's about as talented as a roster gets, if you ask me. I mean, let's take a quick look at the other two stars. Kyrie Irving, when he plays, is arguably the second best point guard in today's league. He's an efficient 50-40-90 player who can put up 50 points on any given night. And as for Ben Simmons, if you look past all the drama, he's a perennial all-star and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Sure, he can't really shoot, but he does everything else at a superstar level. Some may say, yeah, they're good, but are they even gonna play? Well, as long as there's not another pandemic, Kyrie will probably play somewhere around 60 to 70 games like he's been doing his whole career. He'll take an odd game off here and there just because he's Kyrie, but other than that, he plays when he's healthy. Then when it comes to Ben Simmons, according to Stephen A. Smith, the 26-year-old is motivated to get back onto the court and do what he does best. Honestly, I expect him to be a beast in 2023. He's taken a ton of slander over the past year, and he's going to be motivated to silence the critics. So, with all that being said, you got to ask yourself, is KD really going to lead this squad? I mean, if he's trying to win a championship, he's got to be completely out of his mind if he wants out, especially when you also consider how they lost in the 2022 playoffs. Sure, they got swept by the Celtics, but just barely. Because look, in Game 1, they had Boston by the neck and lost by a buzzer beater. Then in Game 2, the Nets had a lead going into the fourth, but let it slip out of their hands. Game 3 was another close game that slipped away in the fourth, and Game 4 was more or less the same. A shot here, a shot there, and it literally could have been the Nets who lost in 6 games against the Warriors. Anyway, on top of all these close games, what doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that the Nets were playing with the third highest paid player, Ben Simmons, sitting on the bench looking like Willy Wonka. I mean, could you imagine if the Celtics played with their third highest player sitting out? In 2022, that would have been Jaylen Brown. So this now begs the question, why is Kevin Durant still entertaining trade talks? Well, I believe that at this point in time, KD doesn't want to leave. I mean, assuming he wants to win a championship, Brooklyn would probably be the best option because look, where else would he go? If he goes to Boston, the Nets owner would be looking for both Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, along with role players like Derek White and Grant Williams. Then Durant would be left with Jason Tatum and Malcolm Brogdon as the second and third option, and the Celtics would lose their defensive identity. This is honestly a lose-lose for both teams if you ask me. Anyways, Durant also wanted to go to Phoenix to play with Booker, but now that DeAndre Ayton can't be traded until January, the Suns don't have the pieces to make a trade. I mean, there's no way the Nets front office is going to trade for a 37-year-old Chris Paul or accept Mikal Bridges as the main piece in the trade. So Phoenix is out. Miami was another trade destination that Durant wanted, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to go there if Jimmy Butler was gone, so he's out of the trade question. Bam Adebayo is also out of the trade equation because of a collective bargaining agreement rule that prevents teams from having 2 designated rookies that were acquired via trade. Then looking down the Heat roster, there's no one else they can offer the Nets. I mean, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo, and Tyler Hero. There's no way the Nets front office would accept any of these players for a player like Durant, so that pretty much means Kevin Durant won't be bringing his talents to South Beach. Then if you go down the list of other teams, it's pretty much more or less the same. If Durant gets traded, the team gets crippled, or there's no available trade option. Unless it's the Warriors, but the owner of the Warriors already stated that he doesn't want to mortgage their future for one single player. Plus, they just proved already that they could win without him. So logically thinking, when Durant says that he wants to get traded, he's just fooling everybody because there's no better team to compete for a championship than where he's at right now with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, as of his latest request, which was to fire head coach Steve Nash and general manager Sean Marks, here are my thoughts. Steve Nash, even though he was a two-time MVP, has never really had any coaching experiences. I mean, he may have coached kids or something on the side for fun, but when it comes to elite level competition like the NBA or even in college, he doesn't have any experience, not even as an assistant coach. So yeah, to win a championship in the NBA, it'd probably serve the Nets better if they had a guy with more experience and a proven track record. This whole Nash as a head coach was KD's fault though, because he's the one who wanted Nash in the first place. I mean, back in 2020, KD said on a JJ Redick podcast, his insight for the game, his communication, how he communicates the game of basketball is definitely going to help me as a player develop, and it's going to help the rest of the team. Every time I'm in the gym with him, I'm always like a sponge. I'm looking forward to this. It's quite comical now that the situation did a complete 180. Anyway, when it comes to Sean Marks, I don't understand why he wants him out. I mean, everyone Durant wanted on the roster, he got them. When he wanted James Harden, he got him. When he wanted more shooting, he got Seth Curry and Patty Mills. When he wanted more veterans, he got Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. Sheesh, guys, it sounds like a pretty good GM to me. Anyway, even if the Nets owner doesn't fire these two and Durant starts tweeting some crazy stuff, he's probably not leaving. This is too good of an opportunity for him to rewrite his legacy. And even if he's unhappy with the Nets not bending to his will and firing those two dudes, he's not the type of guy that'll just give 50% of his effort or just sit on the bench and pout. People might say Durant quits when it gets hard, that he isn't a leader, but if there's one thing about KD, it's that he plays when he's healthy, and he gives it his all when he's on the court. The dude might have burner accounts on social media, and he might be sending some nasty messages to people like Michael Rappaport. But when he's on the court, you can't deny that he's a true hooper and respects the game. With the Brooklyn Nets, KD's in the championship conversation, and the only thing holding the team back is chemistry and a bit of culture. If they could somehow develop that in training camp or over the course of the season, man, oh man, they could be dangerous. And if KD does win it all, it'll finally be a way for him to shut up Charles Barkley, who literally did a whole segue on that bus driver thing. Sheesh, guys. Charles Barkley is the ultimate troll.